Welcome. This video is going to walk you through how to change your account numbers. So if you've searched around SBC a little bit, you've probably found that there are a couple of menu selections to change your part numbers and to change your account numbers. We've designed those over the years at customer requests, but we've now come up with two master utility programs that go in and will change the information in every single file in the system instead of them being in other locations. Now, because we don't like to pull things off of the menu from customers who have been with us for a while, you'll find the other menu selections still on the screens, but I really would suggest that you use the menu path, in this case for AR, that I'm going to show you here. So to get to the menu path that I'm using, I'm going to go to Y, my system utilities. I'm then going to go to number 9, the universal file utilities. So although I have an AR file utilities here, and there's technically one in that menu selection that allows you to change the account number, I want you to go to number 9, the universal file utilities. And then last, over here on the right, there's an account number conversion program. So I'm going to go into that. That's letter J. Okay, so what you're seeing on your screen, although it is not GUI, it will be GUI soon, but what you're seeing is the conversion of every file in SBC. From the top left, do I want to do this in my batch process? Now, if you're going to schedule this to run, obviously you're not going to run it multiple times in a row, but if you were going to run this later in the evening or over the weekend and you weren't going to be in the office, you could absolutely batch process this if you wanted to. So you would change that to a yes. I'm going to do this while I'm on site here. These kind of big conversion things I like to watch happen. So if you have the opportunity to stay late or come in early to do either a part number conversion or an account number conversion, I would really suggest it. Do I need a hard copy of this? It's kind of up to you. You're changing the information from one value to another value, so maybe you do want a hard copy of this, especially if you're changing them to random numbers. I'm just going to add a character to my account numbers for this purpose so that I can show you how to use this program. But if your account numbers are going from 102 to L47, then you absolutely might want a hard copy of that just in case. Print detailed errors. I'd always say yes to the print detailed errors. Then if you have any errors, the information is right in front of your face instead of you having to go and search for it. In the upper left-hand corner, it's asking me for a text file name, and this is where you're going to use programs that are not in SBC to make up this information. So where before, or where in other menu selections, you may see a window that says, what's your old account number? And then what's your new account number? You fill in the two boxes and you hit the go button and it makes it happen. This is going to ask you to import data from a file. Now, what you're doing is you're not transferring data from one record to another. We have customers who are constantly asking, how do I transfer the data and not lose my history? That's not what we're doing here. What we're doing here is we're doing a find replace. So we're going into the system, we're finding account number 101, and we're replacing it with the new account number. That is it. We're not finding any information and doing any conversion of information, meaning pulling it out of one account's information, holding it in an area for a second, and then pushing it into another account's information. So although we call this the conversion, it's not actually removing and moving any data. We're just finding a value and replacing that value. So it's asking me for the text file name, and if you look on the right-hand side of the screen, you see that the format for this file will be a 12-byte, that is a 12-character, old account number, a comma, and then a 12-byte or 12-character new account number, followed by a carriage return line feed. You don't enter a carriage return line feed. It just happens in any file, especially if you're in Notepad and you've pressed your enter key. So I'm going to go out and create that file now. So I'm going to minimize the screen, and I actually pulled this out using my convert.uni, using my ASCII create file. So this is a file I've already used to pull data out of my existing SBC. I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to open this with Excel. Okay, so there's my old account number, 101. I am going to import into my new account number. I'm going to use it. Oops. I'm going to do a concatenate. I'm going to put an L and then my 101. And then I'm going to copy this all the way down the line. Copy, paste, special values. Okay, enter. If you need any help with anything you just saw, please just call us. So my old account number is the number. My new account number is the same number with an L preceding it. So you can change any piece of information. None of the old information needs to exist in the new account number. If you are purchasing the accounting from another company, you're buying the company and you want to change all of the account numbers, there's nothing in the old account number or in the old manufacturer and part number, while we're on this topic, that needs to exist in your new account number or new manufacturer and part number. So I'm going to do a file. I am going to do a save as, and I'm going to save this as a CSV file. Saving it as a CSV file on my desktop is going to set it up so that it has a comma between my first column of information and my second column of information. I'm going to click the save button. Yes, I always answer this a yes, and then I'm going to close this. No, I don't need to make any changes. So I should find my AR list file up here. If I were to right-click on it and open it with Notepad, you're going to see my account number. I don't need a header in here if I don't want one, so I'm going to remove it, and then a comma, and then my new account number. So I'm going to close this with the X in the upper right-hand corner. If you're opening a CSV file, do not reopen it in Excel, especially if it's a line of 3M parts, for example, where you have leading zeros in your information, or to wipe your leading zeros. So if you're going to look at this file, do an open with and open it with Notepad. If it looks all messed up, delete it, go back to Excel and start over. That's my suggestion after doing this for quite a while. So now I'm going to go back into SBC. Nope, I lied. I'm not going to go back into SBC. I need to put this into my user data folder. So I'm going to pull it into user data. I'm going to drop it there. If it already exists, or if a file of that name already exists, you're going to get that message. Do you want to replace the file? You choose yes or no, depending on whether you want to overwrite that file. If you have access to other user groups, you can put it in one of those other user groups as long as you can get to that in SBC. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you don't have additional user groups, or you're not using them for anything. If you have any questions on any of that, just call us. So I'm going to go back into SBC now, and I'm going to type in the file name that I just created. So arlist.csv. Oops, V. I press my enter key, and if it were to, let me show you real quick, if I was to type in .csv, maybe I spelled it wrong. If my cursor goes back to the left-hand side, either my file name is wrong or I did not put it in user data or in a usable user group. So just so you know what that looks like. I'm going to press my enter key. Enter store to convert. If I'm converting data in my manufacturer file or in my history or in my part checking by account file, I may have a reason to specify which store I'm converting. I'm converting data in my account listings, and there's only one accounting file. If you have multiples, you're going to know it, because really none of our customers have multiple AR listings. So in this case, although it's asking me this, I'm simply going to press my enter key and bypass it. If I have a reason to filter this information, I can do it here. This has to do with the files that I'm converting or the stores that I'm converting. And the one thing that you do want to remember is if one of these items in yellow, which the items in yellow at the bottom are your files that are currently open on your system, if they are a store, file per store scenario, you may not want to convert those. Again, this would be if you're dealing with, you've bought a company, they had account numbers, and you're changing the account numbers, and perhaps the information already exists in your system and that's why you're changing their account numbers because you already have those account numbers in your system. In that case, I would call SBC and have a conversation with us just to make sure that something horribly wrong doesn't happen. We don't want to start overlaying existing accounts with information. So if you have any questions on any of that, just call us. So now it says place an X in front of the files that you plan to convert. Now, ARF is my accounting. ART is my F3D transaction listing. CBO is my customer backorder file. If you are not sure what these represent and you think that there may be a scenario where you don't want to convert the information, again, call SBC. We can give you a listing of what each of these files are. In this case, I want to convert all of them, and that's why I'm asking you to use this conversion table instead of using the other one. If you use the other menu selection, you're simply going into ARF. You're finding the account number and you're replacing it with a new one. Here it's giving you the opportunity to go into your history files and your part tracking by account files and things like that to make the adjustments where your account number will now universally have been changed throughout the whole system. So I'm going to press an X in front of each of these files, again, unless there's a reason not to. DPH. That is my held tickets. Do I want to change the account number in my held tickets or do I not want to? I can think of reasons that you would want to do both. So if you're unsure about what these file names are, you're unsure what you want to do, call us and have a conversation with us before you do this. Lastly, I would suggest that you probably do this when people are off of the system, especially if you're changing a lot of accounts or a lot of parts, because if someone has an account open or has a part open and in edit mode, it's going to lock you up, it's going to stop you, and you might not want that to happen. So I would suggest doing this first thing in the morning or last thing after everybody else is gone. Once I've chosen all of the files I want to choose, I either hit my home key or my cursor gets to the bottom of the screen, and my choices are to escape, which then nothing will happen. I can return or press my enter key to start. I can F10 to save the parameters. Now, when you see a message in non-GUI that says F10 to save parameters, it's going to save this screen exactly like this is. I'm not saving as. I'm not saving a library job. I'm simply saving what you see here. So now in this case, you may want to do this just so that if someone else goes to change it, they might realize, especially if you've chosen or not chosen to update a particular file, then the information is saved so they don't have to fill out the screen, but that's what that means. Up arrow to change or change printer number. I'm not really printing anything. It's going to print the detailed errors to my screen, so I have no reason to change my printer number. I'm not actually printing anything to paper. I'm going to press the enter key, and it's going to go through the list, and it's going to convert everything that it needs to convert. Now, I may see a message in here, especially if I try to do this in the middle of the day, that says unable to convert. If you see something that says unable to convert, then your file wasn't converted. That particular file was not converted, and you're going to need to run this again. So that's what we're trying to avoid by doing it at the end of the day. And then it says program finished at whatever time of day it is. Hit any key to end. When I press my enter key, I can go back into my account listing now. Remember, I changed those to L101. If I press my F2 key, it's going to scroll through that list of accounts, and you're going to see my new account numbers. Now, one thing that you want to remember, if you have your accounts in alphabetical order or numeric order by the account number, or if you have your part numbers in alphabetical order and you've now changed the information, you may need to resort your AR or your inventory so that they alphabetically fall in the correct place. If you have your inventory, for example, sorted by the bin location, then this is a non-issue. But just make sure that if you want to then redo your sort order for your AR or for your inventory, you would go into the Y menus to do that as well. So that was how you go in to change the AR. There is another video that's going to walk you through how to change your part numbers if you would like to do that. If you have any questions on any of this, this is one of those files that please call us before you do anything so that we can fix the errors that we see before we do the conversion instead of having to manage them afterwards. So please call us if you need any assistance at 800-829-4722 or send us an email at sbctraining@autolog.com. Thank you so much for your time.